Hello guys, welcome back to another episode of Hoops and Football. I've now had to remake this video for the second time as I posted it recently and it had said that there was no audio. So I've gone back and checked my edit and seen that there's been no audio in it whatsoever. So back remaking the round 14 review, Richmond versus Brisbane. I probably made it a little bit too long, so maybe this is not a bad thing to review it. Before we get into it, could you guys hit the like and subscribe button? And help me get towards 500 subscribers by the season's end. But let's jump straight into the video. First thoughts, probably be a good way to start this one. I was actually really proud of the effort from the boys. Maybe besides what felt like a 10-minute lapse in the start of the third quarter, and maybe 5 minutes here and there in the fourth. I felt like in the first two quarters, we sort of dominated the game. I know they got it on the scoreboard. They are a bit more efficient with their kicking, but I think we scored most of our goals, especially in that first half, off turnovers. We really got the pressure rating up. I think at one stage our pressure rating was sitting over 210, and I think they were around that 170 mark. So if you watch the game, you can definitely see the fumbles going on from them. They couldn't handle the pressure. They couldn't handle the heat we were giving them. So I was really wrapped with that. And also really wrapped we did it straight away again in the second quarter. We have regularly been sort of a team that can have a real good one quarter, and then we slack off for another quarter, and then we're good for one more, and we slack off again, where I felt like we had a really good, even first two quarters. Really impressive, I think, pressure rating from the forward line. I think Morris Shirley Jr. being back really showed you how much we did miss that. Phonetic, maybe the number one pressure player in the competition in the forward line. I thought Liam Forster did really well. Jasper Alger got NAB Rising Star as well for his 4 goals, 1, and I think it was 10 disposals as well. Sorry about the noise in the background if you guys can hear that. Just the neighbours, I can't really do much about that. But I think Taranto had a good game. I think going into halftime, he was 20 disposals and 2 goals, so probably the best half he's ever had. He ended up finishing with 29 and 2 goals, 1. But I think you saw the really good game from him as well as a leader. Kai Annan in his first game, I think, did really well. Definitely you can see the Tom Stewart lookalike. Definitely comes across that way as well. But I thought for a first gamer who came in, he's only really been with the club for 2 weeks, presented really well and led really well and really kept Hipwood at bay. I know Hipwood was back from his first game, but it's not like Hipwood's a first game player either, so he was going up against a 200 gamer. So that was good to see, and I definitely can see that's going to be a really good key piece to have in the background, especially when Gray gets back. Having Ben Miller, Gray, and Anad as your 3 tall defenders also allows Noel Bolter to stay forward. I'll give Ben Miller credit as well. I think his first half and most of the game on Logan Morris did really well. Logan was eventually going to get him because he's just a talented player, but I thought, the most of the game, Ben Miller did really well against him and stopped him. It felt like Broad winded the clock back with his run and dash. I felt like his dare was back to run up the ground, sort of start the link handballing, which we did really good in the first half. The linking over the top plays, constant running, and you could see that Brisbane just couldn't keep up with us. And then obviously that helped us quite a fair bit, kicking 6 goals, 3, I think it was, by half time. Only down by 3, and I thought, can we keep this under 4 goals, which is what I was really hoping for. Ended up being just under 6 goals, but that's a really good effort as well. Bolter did really well in the ruck, and then obviously that first 10 minutes, I think, of the third was where they sort of kicked away. I feel like if you take out that 10 minutes of that third quarter, we're probably right there with them, and maybe it's a lot more of a closer game. I think they ended up kicking 4 goals or 5 goals just in that 10-minute window. And now this is one of the bugbears I'll have. It sort of felt like we regressed in that third back to the usual slow mids. Or not being aware of where Draper was going to tap it, because it was quite obvious. It was behind himself every single time. And either Ashcroft or Neil was going to get it every single time. And for some reason, I don't know whether that's just because of the pace of the players we have, or maybe their IQ wasn't high enough to understand, look, this is what's happening. We need to defend those 2 players, especially at every ruck contest. Because prior to the half-time, looking I think he went into half-time with like 11 disposals. And I thought we really mitigated him the first half. And then once he got off the chain, it was really hard to get him back on there. And I saw that they sort of put Taranto on him as a lock-up, which is why I only got 9 disposals from the last half of the game. But it was good to see. We did see Grill and Seth Campbell in there as well, and Sam Cumming. Was frustrated. The CBAs were mainly dominated by Prestia, Hopper, and Taranto. And it shows you why the midfield, probably for that 10 minutes, just destroyed us. So, but I don't want to be all negative. Let's be some positives. I think we all can say a 6-goal loss to the back-to-back reigning premiers is a lot better than we all would have thought, especially with the amount of players we have missing. I think if we had a couple other players in there, that's not a 6-goal loss. It's maybe a 3-goal loss. But the boys should hold their heads up high. We went to Tassie and gave the Brisbane Lions the best we possibly could. And I would like to think coming into half-time, Fagan would have had to tear him a new one for being as sloppy as they were and allowing us to win the pressure back constantly. All right, so let's just do a couple of reviews on some players. Players maybe that I thought had a really good game and maybe the stats don't show that they are. Some stats will say that they are. And then I'll talk about a couple of players that I'm really concerned about as well. I don't want to be just all glazing the players because there are some players who did not play a good game. Now, I know if these players won't get dropped, but either way, that's going to be what it is. Tim Taranto was good. 2 goals won, 29 disposals, 6 clearances, and 434 metres gained, and 1 goal assist. I think he did really well. It sucks he didn't get that third one. I thought he would have got it, but I think his leadership around the ground was good. And he seemed like he wanted the ball more than most other players did during the game. Presti was good with his 27 disposals, 7 clearances, 221 metres gained. He seemed to always be around there. A few times he went backwards when I think he should have gone forward and it put other players under pressure. But, he's not as fast as he used to be, and maybe that's just the body slowing down a bit more. Sonzi probably had one of his best games for the year. He ended up having 1 goal, 22 disposals, 429 metres gained. I really would like to see maybe Sonzi get some set of bounce attendances. I know we're going to give it to Grill, but Sonzi's one wood when he was drafted was that he was a midfielder. So I wouldn't mind seeing him even just 4 or 5 and just to see what it's like. Banksy did really well for his second game back off that collarbone. 22 disposals, 373 metres gained. I think it was really good to see him in that back line with that running and dash, along with Brown and Short. Speaking of Short, he had 21 disposals and almost had just over 450 metres gained. So it was sort of his game. He had a few long down the lines, but you can see he tried not to. Patrick Rechko is I'm starting to become a real big fan of him. I think his run and those pink boots, so it made it so obvious to see where he was. But he had 18 disposals and he had 300 metres gained, but it wasn't just the disposals. It was the willingness to run up the ground and try and put more pressure on. And he was really good for that link-up chain of we had on the wings a few times as well. So Hopper was another player I wasn't impressed with. In a few times where he tried to sell some candy because he ducked. He luckily got away with it, but then he just blazed away a few times where he should have handballed to Taranto on the run. It would have been a nice link up, and it would have been a bit more chance for Taranto to get the ball deeper where we were at the back. Instead, he just put it on the boot and kicked pretty much 2 Brisbane players on the 50-metre line, doing absolutely nothing and just easy turnover. I believe that turned over into a goal as well, which was quite frustrating. I love James Trezis's game at 1 goal 1. Probably should have had 2 goals 1 because he shanked that one on his left, which I thought he would have got. But, from players been playing back and then somehow went forward and was creating the opportunities and bobbing up, it's really impressive. And I would hate to see him not get a game next week just because some players are coming back. Tom Brand was good back off his first game as well with 16 disposals and nearly 300 metres gained. So I was really happy with that. I said about Kai Anna, I've done that. Jasper Ogre, we've done that. Morris only had 7 disposals, but I think a player can only have 7 disposals somehow has so much impact on the game with just 7 disposals, because you can see that preceded pressure was back and it really freaked out the Brisbane Lions team. Maybe they even forgot about it because a few times they should have been pinned for holding the ball from a Rioli tackle, but that's so what it is when it goes towards Richmond. But then we'll get into team stats, because I think some of these stats were really good. Over the disposals, we were up over almost 20 more disposals than we do, so that which means your kicks, handballs are all going to be above the average, which is good to see. We're getting a bit more hands on the ball. Inside 50, we had 53 to 58, so we weren't we weren't far off the mark with having the same amount of ball in inside 50s. Obviously, we just seem to be a bit more finding better ways to deliver the ball in and more effectively to get shots on goal. I think I saw a stat from Michael was that games experienced for forward line to forward line was their forward line was like over 600 something games, we pushing 700, and we were just under 100. I think it was under 153, which is crazy seeing how many players you have playing. But Maurice Rioli has 52 games experience, so he has 1/5 of those games played as his own games. And then you look, effectiveness inside 50 was 42%, so it's above the average. We're normally at 44, but if you look at what they were at 58. So they're almost at 59%, and their average is about 55. So if we can get to that 50 plus, I think you'll start to see those inside 50s from 53 be a bit more effective on the scoreboard, which would be really good to see. And it says free kicks was 14-9. It felt like there was a lot more free kicks given to Brisbane than 9. So I would love to go back and watch the whole thing and count them. And sometimes it's not the free kicks that are paid. It's the ones that aren't paid. There was a few that I can confidently say that you would say that's holding the ball. The one on the forward pocket where Maurice Rioli tacked, I think it was Wilmot, and he definitely did not get a hands on that. And that should have been a shot on goal for Rioli. Nick Flostone got Zach Bailey. That was like definitely holding the ball. And just a few times players ducking and getting pinned. Not getting free when they would give them the free kick for that as well. So in the stoppages, we lost the hit-outs by 4, which was quite good considering we had 40 hit-outs and we normally have 22, which would potentially double our season average, which is impressive. We did lose clearances by 9, 33 to 42, roughly both at our season average, which is not too bad. We did win centre clearances to 15 to 3, and I just think their 13 they made it hurt more than what we could. But they dominated us in stoppage clearances where we had 18, they had 29. So they were above their season average and we were below. And that one really hurt us. It was just too obvious as well. And it felt like we were playing too much defense when it came into that stoppage work. It felt like all our players were sitting defensive side instead of just being on their man, which was then allowing the Brisbane to get the ball and just run off and do as they pleased. Trying to get some other key stats really to focus on, like marks inside 50, which is a real good one. We had 16 to their 11, which is impressive. We were up above our season average as well. And then I think it was tackles I really wanted to talk about as well. So 50 is about our average for season tackles. We had 56 and we kept them. They were above theirs, but that's fine. This is the big one. Tackles inside 50 was 17 to 8. So we pretty much doubled our season average for tackles inside 50. And you can definitely see the first half, that was probably what caused a lot of their pressure from them. As soon as we got the ball in our 50, it wasn't coming out as fast as it used to. And I really think that contributes to a Sam Grill, a Maurice Rioli, and a Steely Green. I've been saying this for most of the year now. I just don't think three key tools it doesn't work in my professional opinion. Maybe it works for Brisbane, for Adelaide Crows and a couple other teams, but I just don't think it works for us, and it never has. Even in our glory days, it never worked. I think having the two tools and the rest of the players are either average height or small with the speed and pace, it takes it away. Now, we know we had Noel Bolter. He would then go forward at times. But when he went forward, McKelty the foul or Lee Enforcer were off when Oliver Hayes-Brown was on the ruck. And then when Oliver Hayes-Brown wasn't rucking, he was on the bench. So it means there was still two traditional tools only, which then allows you to have more of a mosquito fleet to create the consistent pressure as well. So I think that's something we need to look in towards in the future. And maybe that is once Lynch retires, they'll stick to two tools and that's it. But before we go, I want to do one more thing, and I've really got to have to make a sting for this. I want to make a thing called the good, bad, and ugly, which I've done it a few times. I want to make a little sting for it. But I think the good for me is Jasper Ugg's 4 goals won and getting the NAB Rising Star, because he did it against the Swans where he kicked 3. And it's really starting to come pretty easy for everyone to see that it's really hard to not see Jasper become a 150 to 200 game player. The way he plays and his IQ to know when to not go to the ball and when to step at the back and sort of sneak away from his opponent and get some really good open run into goals and kick goals. His marking is really good as well, and then he has the balls to not be afraid to get hit by players coming at him as well. I'd probably say my bad was probably saying the second half where we sort of dropped away our pressure. Our pressure dropped off. And we didn't seem to have that same fight as we did in the first 2 quarters. And my ugly would be that 10-minute lapse we had in that start of that third quarter. I think that really haunted us for the rest of the game, and it was too hard to come back from. I think if you could take that 10 minutes out, there's a high chance we're right in the game and a chance to win. But let me know your good, bad, and ugly. Hit the like and subscribe. And as always, guys, go the Tigers.